So today we're going to talk about the emotionally broken man, how they might be using you, and these 7 signs to pay attention to if you found yourself with a possible emotionally broken man. Now let's get clear, or not clear. Let's talk about what I believe is something that's radically obvious today, that there's a significant percentage of wounded human beings out in the dating marketplace. We call them broken, we call them wounded, we call them, well, there's probably a lot of list of things with constipated, that sort of thing. By the way, this is true for men and women alike. But I've noticed a lot of women seem to attract that broken, emotionally broken man. And they always ask me, where can I meet quality men? Where can I meet that emotionally grown up man? And I want to share with everyone, that's the wrong question. That's not the right question. That's the wrong question. Don't be asking, where can I meet quality men? I want you to ask yourself, how can a quality man find me? How can a quality man find me? Now, I've noticed that there are a significant percentage of women who have an overinflated sense of themselves. They just believe that they deserve that quality man just because of the air they breathe. By the way, this reminds me of the TV show, The Housewives of Beverly Hills in Orange County, but that's my judgment. I'm just going to own that. That's my judgment for those ladies. But I also notice that there's a significant percentage of women who lack confidence. So when asking that question, how can I be seen by a quality man if you lack confidence, if you don't trust in yourself, if you don't have clarity, if you don't present yourself well, it's going to make it rather challenging. But more important, you become a magnet for emotionally broken men. And I know about this because I was an emotionally broken man after my divorce. This is why I can speak to this demographic that you're experiencing, because first off, everyone, you have to recognize that divorce is an emotionally traumatic event for both a man or a woman. Okay. It's the unraveling of the tapestry of a life you had with another human being. Oftentimes, that tapestry was riddled with problems and complications. And so, what happens for a significant percentage of people is that they don't take time to heal themselves after their divorce or after a significant relationship ended. And what happens for many men, just like what I did, is I thought all I needed was a woman to heal me. I was the Jerry Maguire, you complete me kind of narrative out there. And I was going out on date after date after date. And I would find myself meeting really nice women, but I would hit my edge. And what I mean by my edge is I wasn't capable of going any deeper in relationship, or worse, I was so wounded that I became addicted to drugs and alcohol as a way to numb the pain. And actually, online dating was one of the forms I numbed the pain as well. Now, it's coincidental that it put me on the path of becoming a dating and relationship coach. It put me on a path of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. It put me on the path of writing my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. There's a link below to get a copy of my book in the Jonathan Recommends book section. Why I'm sharing this with you is that emotionally broken men represent a significant percentage of the dating marketplace. But sadly, to some degree, women are also hurting on the inside, and they may not be fully capable of entering into a healthy relationship because there's work that must be done for themselves as well. This isn't, pain is an equal opportunity employer. And yet, sadly, most women will take on a project of an emotionally broken man. Let me repeat that. Now, okay, when I say most women, let me reframe that. A lot of women will take on a project because they see the potential for the guy. They see it's interesting. I had a woman said to me, it was my first relationship after my divorce. It only lasted 3 months. But she said to me, Jonathan, I have to date you with rose-colored glasses. That's right. She said that. In fact, I want to share this with everybody. For a Christmas gift, She gave me these rose-colored glasses. This was 17 years ago, okay? I don't know if you can tell. Those are rose-colored glasses. Why I'm sharing this with you is she knew right up front that I was a mess emotionally, but she saw something in me. It's kind of interesting because we still remain social media friends. And she always said, I knew you would turn your life around. But she took me on. Now, she knew it going in. The problem is many of you ladies don't know going in. You see some glimmer and you're like, I can heal him. I can change him. I can be his. Well, let me just say this. A lot of women are not rehabilitation centers for broken men. I'm going to repeat that. Women are not rehabilitation centers for broken men. And yet some of you actually take on that role. And many men who are broken or emotionally constipated or emotionally unavailable will choose women to effectively be their therapist. I'm going to repeat that, effectively be their therapist. In fact, I've noticed a significant percentage of women who also need a therapist in their life, and they bond with a broken person because to some degree they're emotionally wounded or traumatized. And this is my version of trauma bonding, where two people bond together because of their individual pain that they're experiencing. So in a minute, I'll give you those 7 signs, but I want to address this a little bit deeper for a second. What causes emotional pain for someone? Well, let's face it. I said earlier, divorce is a traumatic experience, whether you're a man or a woman. Okay. Maybe they're going through a job change. I know when I was going through a divorce, I was going through a significant change in my professional life. It actually affected me at such a granular level because it directly affected my identity. Not to mention there was a contentious divorce going on. So that created friction between me and my children to some degree. It was difficult to go out and socialize because many of my friends were still married. So these are the emotional layers we men and women experience, and we might feel fear or pain entering into the dating marketplace. And yet, sadly, let me just share with everyone, if you haven't seen my chart, the 3 people actively dating, this is not a fact, it's merely an opinion. But roughly 20% of the population are users. These seek short-term game. They're the love bombers, the players, the gold diggers, the entitled people. They only care about themselves. And while I say 20% of the population are grower builders, they seek long-term commitment. They're emotionally grown up. They have good relationship skills, have their act together. The vast majority of everyone is in this spender category. And the reason why it's called spender is they'll spend time with you. They will put you in their life as a placeholder. They seek connection, companionship, coupling, or sex. They have no direction, uncertainty. They're fearful. They usually have a dysfunctional life. Roughly, and by the way, this is equally true for men and women, okay, these categories. This isn't singular to men. We have a greater chance of meeting an emotionally broken person, emotionally dysfunctional person, a person with weak emotional maturity, weak relationship skills. We have a greater chance of experiencing them. This comes back to what I said earlier. Where do you meet those grower and builders? It's not, the question isn't where do you meet the quality men, those grower builders I talk about, those emotionally mature men. That's not the right question. The question you should be asking yourself is, how can I be seen? How can that man find me? Really sit with that question for a second. How can that man find me? How can he see me through all of the dysfunction out there? How can he see me from all the broken and emotionally constipated women out there? How can he see me from those entitled women? That's the question you should be asking yourself. You see, if you're attracting a broken person, you have to look inward and say, what is going on inside of me? And while I'm going to give you some signs to pay attention to, I'm inviting you all to look in the mirror. And again, this isn't a criticism by any stretch of the means. Is that right? This is an opportunity to look inward and say, how can I grow? How can I evolve? How can I heal from my wounds? If you're not familiar with the book, The Hoffman Process. I highly recommend reading this book. Again, links below to all the books I recommend. Folks, this book is designed to heal your childhood wounds and adult traumas that cause you to have negative patterns and limiting beliefs in your life. This is not for the faint of heart. Individual work is not for the faint of heart. I know most of you believed on some level that just meeting the right guy will change everything, but you also have to become the right girl for the right guy. And that's my invitation for many of you. And if you need some support on that, schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach was right for you. There's a link below. My whole area of expertise is to help you with discernment, how to pick those, how to first be seen by single, eligible, quality men. Let me repeat that. My role is to help you to be seen by single, eligible, quality men, but more importantly, how to sift through the dysfunctional ones so you can, instead of going out on 100 first dates, let's narrow it down to maybe 5. And narrow it down to quality. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. Hit that like button, by the way. All right, let's talk about those 7 signs. The first one is the most obvious of them all. Ladies, you know this. I'm sharing it only not because it's obvious, but because it needs to be reminded. Your time together is mostly about sex. You know, we men, it's interesting. Online dating has literally created a portal for almost easy sex. You know, because we get caught up in this. First off, all a man has to do is love bomb you to some degree. And for many of you, that's enough seduction. But nowadays, what happens is when 2 people have instant chemistry, they focus on the physical aspect of the relationship and not the emotional aspect of the relationship, not the values, not the lifestyle compatibility. They focus on the physical. So if you find yourself in a circumstance where it's only about sex, there's a good chance it could be a man who's using you, who's emotionally broken. Now, let me just say this. Relationships are an incubator for growth. So every experience that you've ever had is preparing you for your ideal relationship. If you haven't seen the Netflix series called Black Mirror, someone write this down, Black Mirror, season 4, the episode is called Hang the DJ. This is one of my favorite episodes. By the way, the show is a rather dark show. But Hang the DJ is a great illustration of how every relationship happens for you, how they are building blocks. So if you found yourself in the past being used by a guy because of these 7 signs, just know that you can radically change your future in an instant if you look at every relationship as an opportunity for growth. Okay? The second sign, he's possibly using you. He's an emotionally broken man. Men are using you when you see these 7 signs. Number 2, he doesn't open up to you. He avoids personal questions. He avoids personal questions, and he even avoids talking on the phone. In other words, he prefers text messaging. He doesn't have in-depth conversation with you, but more importantly, he avoids personal questions. He avoids questions about his emotional well-being. He avoids questions about how he feels about you. If he doesn't open up to you, there's a good chance he's an emotionally broken man. Number 3, he doesn't ask you out after the hunt phase. Folks, you guys love the idea. Men love the hunt. Men love the chase. All I have to do is sit back in my feminine energy and let a man chase me. Folks, you have to okay, if you've watched my channel more than 10 times, you know what I'm about. You know what I'm about to say. And if you're brand new to watching my videos, let me be clear about something. This whole narrative that men are hunters and they love the chase. Do you think men walk around going, I'm hunting a relationship. I'm hunting a relationship. I just can't wait to be in a relationship and I'm going to hunt for my relationship. That's not what men are. You can't apply hunting for buffalo and superimpose this experience of caveman hunting for buffalo and say he's hunting a relationship. No, Men hunt physical pleasure. That's what they're hunting. So if after the hunt phase, in other words, the minute he's conquered you, and he doesn't ask about you, he doesn't ask you out on a date, that's you already know you've gotten used when that happens. But just recognize that this hunt phase, oh, and by the way, I'm going to say something for everyone. Someone write this in the chat box. Romance should be reserved for couples in a relationship. Let me repeat that. Romance should be reserved for couples in a relationship, not as an entry point into a relationship. Do you realize love bombing, doing all the, remember I talked to you earlier about that overinflated woman that feels entitled? I was watching a TikTok video where a woman was saying on the video, if a man doesn't wine and dine me on a date, first off, I'm going to walk out on a date if he doesn't wine and dine me. Do you realize that romance is designed to get you to drop your pants? Okay. That's what it's designed to do. So shouldn't that be reserved for couples in a relationship, not as an entry point into a relationship? And that's not to suggest that we can't do nice things for one another. Of course, I'm certainly here to encourage romantic gestures, but just recognize if there's an expectation of being romanced, or if a man is over romancing you, it could quite possibly be he's just in the hunt phase for that physical intimacy. Number 4, he doesn't protect you. He doesn't protect you. Now, I'm not talking about in the physical sense. I'm talking about in the emotional sense. See, an emotionally grown-up man knows when he's ready for a relationship. The emotionally stunted person, the spender, the constipated man, he's not protective of your emotions. He only cares about his own emotions. You see, a quality man, an emotional grown-up, a grower builder, he's very aware that his actions has consequences. His actions has consequences. This is why it's fascinating to me. So my clients that go through my private boot camp coaching program, it's an 8-week program where you're working exclusively with me. One of the things they do is we create this radical honesty template, and I teach women how to gauge a man's emotional maturity. And through this process, we create tons of not tons of, we have these questionnaires you fill out, and there's all this homework assignment. And what I have my clients do is when they begin dating someone, and I got to tell you, the minute women make investment in this program, I get calls all the time. Jonathan, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. And they know the difference finally for the first time because they've stepped into their empowerment. They know the difference. And what happens is when they introduce the men to the work that we've been doing together, it's amazing how the quality men, because now they're more of a magnet for that quality men because they know how to be seen. But these men love the work that I've shared with them. They love it. In fact, one of the things that happens with me is I actually get on the phone with several of the men. I've gotten on the phone with men who, the boyfriends of clients. By the way, they have to pass the Big Brother test. So, but I'm here to share with you an emotionally grown-up man. He's going to protect your emotions, and those stunted men, those constipated men, they're not going to be protective of your emotions. Number 5, you never meet his friends or family. He always has excuses. You never meet his friends or family. He always has excuses. That's a guy that's probably rather broken, rather constipated, and he just wants you for companionship, connection, and sex, okay? Number 6, he doesn't go out of his way. If you're feeling sick, if your family needs something, maybe it's your birthday. I was just reading about this on a blog, how a woman asked a man to come to her birthday party, and he made excuses. And while she claims that they have a good connection, you know what, to me, I recognize that we might have important things in our lives, but our relationships are equally important. Our romantic relationships are equally important. And number 7, He puts off being exclusive and he avoids conversations about the future. He puts off conversations about it being exclusive and he avoids conversations about the future. That's a sign. Possibly he's emotionally constipated, possibly he's emotionally broken, but certainly if two people have been physically intimate with one another, then this is the time to have those deeper conversations to explore what's the purpose of this relationship. Folks, I'm a big proponent. The purpose of dating is to vet someone to decide if you want to be in a relationship with them. And then once you're in a relationship, the purpose of it is to vet each other to determine if there is a long-term potential. But Jonathan, I'm just supposed to sit in my feminine energy and the guys are supposed to lead because men obviously know what they're doing. Folks, 80% of the population of men and women are either users or spenders. It isn't, by the way, the grower and builders, you don't have to worry about this. They're already initiating these conversations. If you have to initiate the conversation, there's a good chance you're already starting behind the 8 ball. So this whole narrative of feminine energy way of approaching things is not a very, okay. Let me just put it to you this way. Whether we like it or not, as much as we want to be romance, as much as we wish that chemistry equaled relationship success, I'm here to say what equals relationship success is shared values, lifestyles that are blendable, but most importantly, emotional maturity. And you have to be a detective, whether you like it or not. I know you don't like being in this position. Don't you wish you would just magically meet someone? You could have, Harry Met Sally, Serendipity, Notebook, The Friends, where Monica and Chandler. You see, that's not the real world. That's all television. We have to face what we're dealing with in the real world. And what's most important, as I said in the early part of this conversation, it's the question isn't where to meet that emotionally grown-up man. It's how can I be seen by emotionally grown-up person? Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. If you found value in this video, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. Hey, and if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a free discovery call, to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis for less than $20 a month. You can get my dating vows. You can get the books I recommend, all in the show notes and in the first comment. All right, it's time for Q&A. It's time for Q&A. If you have a question, write the word question in the chat box. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. All of the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him right there in the Obey shirt with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away almost 6 years ago. In fact, next week, it'll be 6 years that he passed away. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process Insight Institute, and also scholarships to coaching. And our goal tonight is $50. And since we're coming up on the anniversary, I would really appreciate some love because I'd love to give away some money in scholarships and that sort of thing. Okay, so again, that little $ in the chat box. All right, let's see what we've got here. Do we have any questions? Bum, 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 bum. Donna says, I just joined, but it sounds like he's describing my ex. Yes, unfortunately, we have a significant percentage of human beings that are emotionally broken, constipated, wounded, and that sort of thing. So I'm not surprised that it sounds like your ex. Ariel says, well, Ariel, you wrote, this is what you wrote. Can someone who blanks? Okay, that's not a question. Melissa says, thank you for confirming my thoughts. My recent ex booked a trip on my birthday and told me all his friends thought I was crazy because I was upset about it. And because he invited me, that was enough. Again, that's not a very grown-up way of approaching a relationship. And folks, if the penis goes inside the vagina on a regular basis, you have every right to have grown-up conversations with someone, okay? And I'm sorry you experienced a person that seemed to discount your feelings. Annika's in the house. Is it a red flag if a guy almost does not leave space between relationships? He says he has done that. You know, I have mixed feelings on this one. And let me explain why I have mixed feelings. So if I understand it correctly, he goes from one relationship to the next. And I do believe there is an unraveling of the tapestry depending on how long or how significant a relationship was. And it takes time to regain your own sovereignty. So I think that can be a red flag. I prefer, at least in my own life, that somebody has been not in a, okay, so provided, okay, to me, a significant relationship is something that lasted a year or longer. So any relationship that happened a year or longer. The relationship was 6 months. I would say half the time of the relationship is, you know, if they took a 3-month break versus a 3-week break. That's my rule of thumb. So about half the time of the relationship at a minimum that they have not dated. That's my rule of thumb. But if they had a relationship that lasted for 5 years or longer, I think a good solid year of reintegrating into one's sovereignty and preferably doing some personal development, self-help, and spiritual work would definitely aid or prepare them to be in a relationship. And I think if someone was widowed, I think a minimum, if they had a significant relationship with someone, at least 2 years, if not 5 years. Okay. All right. Thanks for that question. Ariel's back in the house. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to join the hot seat, I'll post a link right here if anyone wants to join the hot seat. In other words, join me live. Okay. So Ariel has come back with a question. Can someone who got divorced 9 months ago be ready for a relationship? He says he loves being married and he's ready. Codependent people oftentimes replace someone fairly quickly. I'm not saying that's an absolute, but some people are codependent. In other words, they have very difficulty being by themselves. So it's hard to say, you know, like it. So one of the things we do in my private coaching is we really grill about their past relationship, trying to get a real sense. Is this person an emotional grown-up? Because, you know, an emotional grown-up might be ready, but since 80% of people are emotionally constipated, it's the odds are against you on this one. So it depends on what type of healing he's done in his, you know, over his past relationship. That would be a good question to ask someone. G is in the house. The guy I told I'm done this morning, has all 7 of those signs. I regret letting him go. Do you think it's fair I started dating right away to get over him? Wait a minute. This is fascinating to me. So you just ended a relationship. He had all 7 signs and you regret letting him go? It's like you should be grateful you let him go. Do you think it's fair I start dating right away? Again, it depends on how long you were dating him. If you were dating him for over a year, I would say take a minimum of 6 months off to reintegrate for yourself. That's just a general rule of thumb. Take about half the time of the relationship. And then if it was a marriage, I would say take 2 years off at a minimum. That's just a general rule of thumb. But thank you for that question. I want to thank Sharon for the $10 super sticker. Thank you for the love, or New Zealand $10. Love the shirt and the anniversary of my mother next week too. Aw, big hugs to you, Sharon. All right. Thank you for the $10. Our goal now is $40 for the evening. All right. Let's see what we have here. Sandy's in the house. How can a 60-something-year-old get self-esteem back after a bad relationship? Great question. You know, when I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, I've actually, in the back of the book, have given all the reference and reading materials I used to to all the teachers that I've connected with, all the books I've read. I'm a big proponent of investing in yourself, both in workshops and therapy, in reading books. I think to regain your confidence, I invite you to do a ton of inner work to examine what positive things did I learn about myself in this relationship? How have I healed from this past relationship? What was good about this past relationship? What am I most grateful for? Do the inner work. And as you do that work, as you face the pain, the doubts, the fear. So here's Sandy. I'm going to say this. To know that you're relationship ready, your desire for a relationship has to exceed your fears, your past hurts, any misalignment you have with someone, any doubts you have. It has to exceed it. Because if those fears, doubts, triggers, wounds, all that exceeds your desire or your capability, so it's desires and capability, then it's a invitation to do personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. Love that question. Thank you so much. Wait, what's this? School teachers close halfway. I like to dress nice for myself and the more aware. Took your advice on counseling twice since we talked. Jennifer was kind enough to share. We had a coaching session a few weeks back where she needed some support and help in understanding herself. Again, if you want to be seen by a emotionally grown-up man, you have to put out the best presentation of yourself. You have to be seen by them, which means also healing on the inside as well. So I'm glad to hear that, Jennifer. Diane is in the house. What if he is somewhere in between, planning a future, sharing vulnerable experience, but decide in the end he's not ready? By the way, we did not have sex. Then you did what was known as, you know why it's called dating? Because it used to be called this, folks. Holy fucking shit, this is insane, trying to figure out another human being. And they thought, well, that's a really long term for, we'll call this dating. Holy fucking shit, this is insane, trying to figure out another human being. See, you were trying to figure him out because he hasn't figured himself out yet. But thank you for that question. Annika, thank you for the $5 super sticker as I'm spitting into the camera. Julie's in the house. I'm dating a guy. I go to all his family gatherings. We see each other about 3 times a week. When alone, we usually cook and watch TV. Should I be concerned? No talk of marriage. Well, how long have you been dating? Have you talked about marriage? Have you talked about what you desire? You know, like, folks, my dating profile, as an example, is very clear. I'm seeking a marriage-minded woman. Okay, to me, it's very, like, you need to address what do you desire and make sure before the penis ever goes inside the vagina, you at least share what you desire. Folks, you know my narrative. I'm looking for a relationship where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in our personal and our professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. That's the standard that I address well before there's physical intimacy. And my simple thing is, this is how I operate. How do you operate? Do you realize a lot of women don't want to spend that much time with a person? They're happy doing once a week. Like, that's not the relationship I'm looking for. Most of my married friends, when they met their partner, they spent regular time together. So be very clear on what your motives are, what your intentions are, what your standards are, and address that before the penis ever goes inside the vagina. Jonathan, that's so crude that you say that. Why can't you just say sleeping together or sex? Because it's a graphic visual. It's intentional. It's so you recognize that there is physical intimacy should be something that's rather sacred. or if nothing else, if it's purely for pleasure, then at least be in integrity with each other. I'm not here to knock friends with benefits or hookups, provided two people are in integrity with each other. But physical intimacy in the form of a relationship should be reserved as something sacred. That's my opinion anyway. All right. Wanda's in the house. Question: is saying I love you within 2 days and bringing up marriage beyond the whole love bombing? Same one with anger issues. I once had a woman on our second date say I love you. And I will tell you, she was a quintessential narcissist. She could not walk past a mirror without stopping, looking at herself. Does anyone know that song? I can't remember who mirror in the bathroom, please talk free. The door is locked, just you and me. Can I take you to a restaurant that's got glass tables? You can watch yourself while you are eating. I swear to God, she was that song. She could not, like, the quintessential narcissist is from the Greek Narcissus, which Narcissus fell in love with his reflection. But she said, I love you. And I realized it took me years to unpack that relationship because I was in a very wounded place in my life. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And boy, was that an emotionally traumatic relationship. We were together for 5 months, and I didn't realize gaslighting, how she discounted my feelings, how she turned everything around, she was a very successful, powerful businesswoman. And she thought I was intimidated by her. But what I realized is she dismantled my self-worth by gaslighting me in such a way. It was so almost beautifully done. I mean, I say beautifully in the sense that it was so strategic and manipulative that I actually thought I was a piece of shit. And she was perfect. It's like I put her up on a pedestal, and thank God I woke up one morning and said, I have to escape this dungeon I'm in. I literally was in an emotional dungeon because of this person, and I had to escape. So I had to do my Shawshank Redemption. I had to crawl through a mile of shit, not a mile, a half a mile of shit. So I could, and that's actually, she was the impetus for me becoming dating and relationship coach. But more importantly, she was she was the catalyst for me to do personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. So just be careful of those people that say, I love you quickly. Okay. By the way, if anyone wants to join the hot seat and join me live on camera, I just posted a link. Oh, I want to thank KH for the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. Bump. Lillian is in the house. Lilia. Is it possible to be a secure attachment in a 30-year marriage and become anxious attachment in a new relationship? I don't think enough studies and enough understanding of attachment style. I mean, I think they're still scratching the surface to some degree. I think anything is possible from that. I think you might confuse a secure marriage just because there was commitment with one another as a secure relationship. You might have always been a default attachment person, but since you felt that the marriage was relatively safe, you might have assumed that it was secure. But what was the cause of the marriage ending? Why are something must have caused the marriage ending, other than I'm assuming that you're widowed. So yeah. Did I give props to KH for the $5 super sticker? Thanks so much. Annika's back in the house with a question. What if a guy says that he doesn't like to do things alone? He likes to do everything with the partner. Is that a red flag? Fuck no. I'm going to be candid with you. I don't like doing things alone. I don't like traveling alone. Traveling alone sucks. Okay. As an example, doing things alone sucks. Actually, I think It's not codependent to want someone to travel with, to have a playmate. I don't think that's a red flag. I think that's a giant green flag. I'm always leery of the people that get too comfortable doing things by themselves, because oftentimes they don't even know how to partner with another human being. So I don't like doing. Now, again, maybe I feel better in partnership. I just recognize that. I feel better about myself. I'm more apt to do things than just when I'm by myself. Now, I remember when I was single in my 20s, it was fun to go out with friends and party, but I think the need for connection and companionship is so strong that we have to be careful for those people that are too much alone, too much loners. I think they have that's just the speculation I have. So anyway, those are just my rough thoughts on that. But thank you, Annika, for that question. Hey, Janie X just gave us a $5 super sticker. I appreciate the love for the Connor Ousley Scholarship Fund. I can't believe it's coming up on 6 years, excuse me. Losing a child, probably to every parent, is their greatest nightmare. And it has ramifications on so many different levels, because it goes outside of the natural order of things. But I want to address this in the context I'm not putting this at the same level, but when we invest in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and it ends suddenly, or it ends in an argumentative way, or it ends in any way, it's like a death. It's the death of the dream. It's the death of it can have serious ramifications. And I only bring this up because Connor was the impetus for me to write this book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. Every single pain we experience is an opportunity to love ourselves. I'm going to repeat that. Every pain we experience is an opportunity to love ourselves. And so I know everyone has experienced different pain in their life. I'm not here to grade the pain as more or less than anything else. You would not be human if you didn't experience pain. Stepping into self-love. And what is self-love? Self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance. It's all those self-understanding, self-awareness. It's all these juicy self-words. And that's why I'm a big proponent of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. So you can create the emotional scaffolding so you don't become an emotionally broken man or woman. Anyways, that was just a quick thought on that. Brown Canetta says, this is really sad story of someone taking advantage of JA. By the way, I am guilty of taking advantage of people. So there's karma involved there, folks. I am not immune to karma. Power of Chi says she was a succubus. Yeah. I have a lot of comments to say, but I'm going to keep that to myself. Oh, Sandy just gave us a $3 super sticker. Thank you so much for the love. We really appreciate it. Let's see what else we have. Margaret says, I don't mind doing things alone, but I do enjoy the company. I'm reminded of the movie Up in the Air. The irony was George Clooney played a quintessential commitment phobic man. And his sister was about to get married, and the groom had cold feet. And in that space, he's telling the groom, life is better with company. I just love that phrase. Life is better with company. Can someone write that down in the chat box? Life is better with company. Of course, we can appreciate doing things alone and just recognize that doing things with other people could be a gigantic fucking pain in the ass. Does anyone remember When Harry Met Sally? But I also believe Harry was a pain in the ass and Sally was a pain in the ass. But life is weird. Or we're all a little weird and life's a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness matches up with ours, we join up in mutual weirdness and call it love. Dr. Seuss. Life is better with company, but more importantly, life is better with those weird folks because they make life better. Hey, I want to give Lily big props. Thank you for the $20 super sticker. Appreciate you. Oh my God, that's my favorite words when someone says, I appreciate you. Well, actually, my favorite words are, you are right. You are right. My top, you're right. Or I appreciate you. So thank you so much for that, love. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. Goddess Gina Michelle from Los Angeles. I'd love to meet a nice man, 50s and 60s. I like a traditional gentleman, creative, quirky, loves to travel. I'm Aquarius. Okay, she's put it out there. God, universe, spirit, we invite in for Goddess Gina Michelle and everyone else who's listening right now. That traditional man who is, wait, what did she say? Who is a gentleman, creative, quirky, loves travel, but more importantly, has a good heart, is an emotional grown-up. And the chemistry between you and them is off the charts, and the communication between the two of you, where the banter can go on for hours and hours at a time, and your lifestyles are compatible with one another, and you share the same values, and you build the deep roots of trust through emotional intimacy that can sustain the relationship when you hit those threshold barriers. And last but not least, great, awesome fucking sex. Because what's the point of having a romantic relationship if you're not getting it on a regular basis? God, universe, spirit, I invite that in for everyone who's watching today and for myself included. Life is better with company, definitely. Roller Girl's in the house. Thank you, Roller Girl. KH says, I can't imagine, Jonathan, the loss of a child. You're absolutely right. Thank you for your advice. You're very welcome. Folks, as I said, we've all had pain. It's the emotional scaffolding that we build for ourselves that allows us to navigate the good, the bad, the ugly of life. And that's my invitation for everyone. Donna B says, I'm sorry, story that reeled me in. Not saying that Jonathan, but my experience, it takes time to understand how people respond and deal with their pain. Go slow, go fast. You know, there's no time limit to anything. These are just guidelines when I say take half the time of the relationship to heal. You know, those are just guidelines. Everybody heals at a different rate. For some people, they spend a decade or two in the dark night of the soul. I've been at this work for over a decade, and I'm still scratching the ant's belly. This is why I always say, when I learn something, I teach it to you, because I believe truth is truth. You know, I mean, good universal truth, but there's nobody that has all the answers. And let me tell you, in the dating, mating, and relating realm, we're all talking out of our ass to some degree. And what I mean to say is, what works for some people doesn't work for others. You have to find what works for yourself. My job is to simply draw your attention to different perspective, different ways of looking at things. I'm not here to suggest I'm the gospel at this. I just do happen to know my clients tend to have more success because it's the Hunger Games out there. And my job is to forever put the odds in your favor. Okay. Deborah says, thank you for the truth spoken here. You're very welcome. Mystic Tarot card is in the house. Should I even consider this if it happens? Today at work, a bidding manager suddenly started talking to me. I don't work with him. Once he started, he walked me to my elevator talking nonstop. Well, first off, you know, right now, be careful of generating a fantasy over this person, okay? We can project a lot of fantasy or story based on this experience, you know? But why not say, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee together? Would you be interested in getting to know each other? Let's grab a cup of coffee together. Would you be interested in getting to know each other? I don't know if you know anything, whether he's married, he's in a relationship, if he's, gay. I mean, you don't know if he just got a divorce 37 seconds ago. That's why it's called dating. Power of Chi. Yes, great sex. Say it louder for the ones in the back. Hey, fucking man, I'm all in favor of awesome sex. KH says, amen to great partnership with bombshell sex. Woohoo! Tell it like it is. Catherine is in the house and she says, many folks don't heal. Time isn't an incubator for someone's readiness. They can claim one thing with the important part, truly listening and watching actions. Absolutely true. You know what? Do you know who we gaslight the most? Ourselves. Do you know who we lie to the most? We lie to ourselves oftentimes. Many human beings in the dating marketplace are emotionally constipated, emotionally broken, emotionally wounded because they haven't done the inner work to heal. By the way, I haven't talked about this book in a while, but I highly recommend checking out the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The Untethered Soul. Can someone write that in the chat box? The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. This is not a dating and relationship book. It's a mindset book. It's about learning how to talk to the voices in your head. See, doing personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and therapy is like peeling the onion to really get to know who you are beyond fear and ego. Let me repeat that, to get to know who you are. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is, I wrote this down. I'm going to read this for everyone. Self-awareness is recognizing one's fears and insecurities, negative judgments of others, how one's actions affect others. Limiting self-awareness is understanding our limiting beliefs, our negative patterns that bring one pain, and the ability to shift to love when in emotional pain. That's what self-awareness is. I'll repeat that. Self-awareness is recognizing one's fears and insecurities, negative judgments of others, how one's actions affect others, our limiting beliefs, our negative patterns that bring us pain, and most importantly, our capacity to shift to love. Wow, we've got to give Goddess some love here. I have $50 super sticker. Thank you so much for the Connor Aslay love. I have done months of solo international travel, so I know I can, but I'm over it. It's better with someone. Amen. All right. Julie says we have to drop the fantasy. Amen to that. Terry's in the house. And Goddess, thank you again for that love. We appreciate you. So Terry says, Jonathan, since 10 years of being a coach, has your views changed on relationships, or what one thing do you think differently now that you did then that you believed, but now changed your mind? I know the answer is, first off, I've been a coach for now 15 years. No, longer than 50. Yeah, 15 years, I think. 2019. Yeah, 15 years. So 2009. I used to subscribe to a lot of the masculine and feminine energy dynamics. I used to subscribe to a lot of traditional views. When I wrote my book, Understand Men Now, the relationships men commit to and why, I would say there was an old story here. So many of you know I'm not a big fan of the masculine and feminine energy shit. Not that there isn't, I recognize that a penis operates different than a vagina, okay? So let's understand that biologically speaking, men and women are different. But I also, if you've ever read the book, If the Buddha Dated, This throws out the bullshit gender rhetoric and says, how can we connect at a heart-centered level? Ever since reading this book, it changed. I read this, maybe about 8-10 years ago. That changed a lot of my coaching, because I think we have to view relationships from a co-creative partnership perspective. When I read the book, here, 2 books. Where's the other one? Hold on a second. When I read the book Sacred or Spiritual Partnership by Gary Zukav, and also Sacred Relationships, the Practice of Intimate Erotic Love, but I'm going to put these both up here, okay? It began changing my perspective, because what I've observed is most couples' greatest weakness is they don't know how to build emotional intimacy. They don't know how to build trust with one another. Here's 2 small little books. Okay, by the way, if you go back and rewind this at the 55-minute mark, but How to Build Trust in a Relationship by Claire Robbins and Couples Communication Guide. These are really tiny books. But what I've observed is most human beings, we operate, well, there's a lot of rhetoric out there, especially in the red pill community, that men are the drivers of the relationship and a woman must submit, and all you have to do is be in your feminine energy because men know what the fuck they're doing. Men know what they're doing. What a crock of shit that is. Most guys are fucking clueless. They're winging it out in the dating marketplace, particularly those divorced men, because they've been out of the dating marketplace for 20 or 30 years. So anyways, to answer your question, yeah, a lot of my content has changed, mostly around sacred relationships, sacred partnerships, approaching the process from a heart-centered way versus the traditional way. Power of Chi says, I will check to see if your books are available on Audible. Way to go. Great. Brown Canetta says, great content tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate. By the way, we Leos love appreciation. I mean, feeling appreciated. Margaret says, agree. Jonathan is peeling the onion. I'm just scratching the ant's belly in all of this. Roller Girl wants to remind us if the Buddha dated. Mystic Tarot cards back in. Good for you, Jonathan. That's what I go through with my ex. He just told me last week, you're lucky I let you work. I don't know what to expect to communicate to my friends, family, and professionals. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right, these are going to be the last 2 questions of the night. Janie X says, does having grown children living with a single father satisfy that parent's need for not living alone or prevent him from seeking a romantic partner? Well, you know, there is a possibility that it might be a surrogate emotional support dynamic. Oftentimes, fathers with daughters or mothers with sons have what's known as emotional incest or covert incest. It's where that other person becomes their primary emotional support person. It's incest only in the sense that it literally could replace a romantic relationship. So that is quite possible, whether it's a man or a woman, that could be a potential problem. Yes, possibly. Joe Daisy says, question. So tell me, Jonathan, have you ever met a girl through your coaching that you took a fancy to? You know, I love all my clients. I love them. I love my clients. They are just beautiful human beings. Some of them are crazy, batshit crazy, and I mean that in a loving way. I don't think I've ever had one client tell me she wanted to do a 3-way, and I'm like, oh, I want to date you. But I never said that to her. Not really. No, I mean, I wouldn't date a client. So I guess I've never put I wouldn't cross that boundary. So, but have I taken I love all my clients. You know, what's beautiful about coaching is what I'm modeling in my coaching is emotional intimacy by talking about things at a heart-centered level. It's helping women. See, one of the benefits working with a male coach is that I can see blind spots that they can't see in themselves because I'm approaching them from a male perspective. Okay. But more importantly, what I'm teaching in my coaching through radical honesty and deeper connectivity is I'm modeling emotional intimacy. In other words, that emotional grown up conversations. That's one of the reasons why I think many of you like my channel, because I have a grown up conversation with you all. I'm talking to you like you're my best friend. By the way, I get so many people that want to just be my friend because they appreciate the way I communicate at a heart centered level. And I go beyond the surface of, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. So anyway, yes, I haven't had that situation happen, although there is one, maybe. You know what, folks? We came up on the hour. This has been fun talking about emotionally broken men using you. When you see these 7 signs, I hope you found value in this. I want to thank everyone for the love for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. We really, really appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Listen, if you found value in this, first off, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. We have fun when you work with me. You can join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. You can follow me on Instagram. You can get the books I recommend. You can get my dating vows all listed below. All right, we're going to wrap up this video as I always do. First, I'll give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Merrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Debbers and Debbie. I hadn't seen you all night. Power of Chi, Natty, Terry, Brown Kanita, Anita, Annika, Power of Chi, Mystic Tarot Card, Margaret, Cindy, Annette, who gave us the $50, Goddess Gina Marie, thank you so much. Joe Daisy, Gen X, all the people that donated tonight, thank you for your love. We really appreciate it. Wishing you a super duper wonderful, fantastic evening. Be well. Thanks. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye.